Venice is, as you know, not unique as a canal city. There are other famous canal cities all over the world, like, for instance, Bangkok, which, when Europeans first came in contact with it, referred to the city as the Venice of the East. And there are, of course, the Dutch cities like Amsterdam, built on a canal grid. But you have to admit that Venice is rare in its ability to maintain a certain amount of its antique charm. Now, the origins of the city were not entirely auspicious. It was formed basically as a result of flight from barbarian invasions. And the first commercial enterprises of Venice were far from exotic. They were basically lagoon fishermen and people who mined salt. But throughout most of its history, Venice was guided by men of profound judgment, who, generally speaking, were more interested in long-term results rather than quick fixes to the problems of the city. And the Venetians always sought to attract men of artistic talent, military daring, and political ability. The Venetians fought long, hard, and successfully against some very formidable foes, like the Byzantines when they were at the height of their power, the Normans when they were at the height of theirs, and of course the Ottoman Turks. It was a state that accommodated foreigners, and you're looking at carvings on the capitals of the Doge's palace commemorating the various foreign merchants that came and worked and lived in Venice, but they accommodated foreigners only to an extent. They were certainly welcome to do business in Venice, but when night fell, those foreigners had to get back to their own ghettos. And remember, the word ghetto is a Venetian word. It was a city that saw the poor and the powerful living side by side, and that brought a certain amount of integration and political stability that earned Venice the envied sobriquet of La Serenissima, that is, the most serene. For centuries, Venice never sought an extensive land empire, and when it finally did seek such an empire on the Italian mainland, that was partially its undoing. But its real end came, of course, with the European age of exploration. When that happened, people like the Portuguese circumnavigated Africa and were able to sail their way to the homeland and the origin of all the exotic spices of the Orient. And by getting to the sources of the spices, the Portuguese and then later the Spanish, then the Dutch, then the English were allowed to circumvent the middlemen of the Middle East, and that included the Venetians. After Venice's political power was exhausted, some financial power remained, and when the money died away, Venice continued to exercise a power over men's mind, in what we might call the mythology of the city of Venice. The population of Venice today is actually less than it was 200 years ago. And every year there are more tourists who pass through Venice than there are actual residents in the city. Well, let's look at the formation geologically and geographically of the city.